Emmeline Pankhurst, who entered the world on July 15, 1858 in Manchester, England, transcended her identity as a mere individual to become a pivotal agent of transformation in British society. From a young age, Emmeline was immersed in political activism, inspired by her parents who were ardent advocates for social reforms. It was this early exposure that planted the seeds of her life's passion, the fight for women's rights. Her early life was shaped by the vibrant political atmosphere of her home, where leading reformers often gathered. These experiences moulded Emmeline's worldview, instilling in her a deep sense of justice and determination to address the inequalities women faced. However, her journey was not just born out of meetings and discussions. It was fueled by a personal vow to elevate the status of women in society. As Emmeline grew, so did her resolve. Her transition from a young girl influenced by her surroundings to a leader of a groundbreaking movement was not immediate, but it was inevitable. The path she was about to embark on would challenge societal norms and redefine women's role in history. So what ignited this transformation? It's time now to look into the pivotal moments that shaped Emmeline Pankhurst into a leader of the British suffragette movement. The fabric of Emmeline Pankhurst's life began to weave a more radical pattern after her marriage to Dr. Richard Pankhurst, a man whose political ideologies aligned with hers. Richard was a fervent supporter of women's suffrage and a proponent of various social reforms. This union was a marital bond and a partnership in activism that further propelled Emmeline's commitment to the suffrage movement. Together, they navigated the turbulent waters of political change, advocating for the rights of women and the disenfranchised. The Pankhurst home became a political discourse and planning hub, laying the groundwork for what would soon become a national movement. However, Emmeline's encounters with the limitations imposed on women, both legally and socially, transformed her from a supporter of women's rights into a pioneering leader. The turning point came with forming the Women's Social and Political Union in 1903. Frustrated by the slow pace of change and the lack of serious intention to give women suffrage, Emmeline and her daughters Christabel and Sylvia established the WSPU to adopt more militant tactics. The motto, "Deeds not words," became their rallying cry, signalling a new phase in the fight for women's rights. Under Emmeline's leadership, the WSPU orchestrated a series of bold and controversial actions, from peaceful rallies to more aggressive approaches like chaining themselves to railings and engaging in hunger strikes. These actions were not without consequence. Emmeline faced multiple arrests, endured harsh treatment in prison, and was subjected to the tortuous practice of force-feeding during her hunger strikes. But despite these challenges, or perhaps because of them, Emmeline's resolve only strengthened. Her ability to inspire and mobilize women from different backgrounds was unparalleled. She was not just a leader, but a symbol of resistance and the embodiment of the struggle for equality. As we explore the suffragette movement's unfolding, one cannot help but wonder what drove these women to such lengths. What fires of injustice fueled their relentless pursuit? Emmeline Pankhurst's story continues to unravel as we delve deeper into the heart of the movement that she led. Under Emmeline's leadership, the WSPU organised massive rallies, protests and acts of civil disobedience. These activities were designed to garner public attention and pressure the government into granting women the right to vote. Emmeline's charisma and unwavering conviction drew many to the cause, swelling the ranks of the WSPU and bringing the issue of women's suffrage to the forefront of public consciousness. However, this period of rising activism had its challenges. Emmeline faced criticism from suffrage opponents and those within the movement who questioned her methods. Despite this, she remained undeterred, her resolve only strengthening in the face of adversity. As the WSPU's actions escalated, so did the attention they received, setting the stage for some of the most pivotal moments in the British suffrage movement. Emmeline Pankhurst was steering the ship toward uncharted waters, raising the question, how far was she willing to go for the cause she believed in so sincerely? The answer would shape the course of history and define the legacy of the suffragette movement. At the helm of the Women's Social and Political Union, Emmeline Pankhurst was a figure of relentless drive and innovation. The WSPU under her leadership was not just an organisation, it was a beacon for change in an era of rigid societal norms. The suffragettes, as they were famously known, were women of all backgrounds united by a single cause, the right to vote. Emmeline believed peaceful protests had done little to advance their cause, and it was time for more drastic measures. Her strategy was clear, making women's suffrage impossible to ignore. Notable events under Emmeline's guidance were few, but few as striking as the 1913 Derby, where suffragette Emily Davison threw herself before the King's horse to draw attention to their cause. This tragic event underscored the desperate lengths to which these women were willing to go for their rights. The public was divided, but the message was clear, and the suffragettes would not be silenced. Emmeline's leadership style was charismatic and unyielding. She inspired fierce loyalty and passion among her followers. Her speeches drew large crowds, sparking both admiration and outrage. She was arrested multiple times and suffered the harsh realities of prison life, including force feeding during hunger strikes. Yet each imprisonment only strengthened her resolve and her legend. The suffragette movement under Emmeline Pankhurst was a testament to the power of a collective action and the enduring fight for justice. It was a movement that would shake the foundations of the British establishment and echo through the annals of history. But with high stakes came high tension, not only with the law, but within the movement itself. The path Emmeline chose was fraught with internal conflicts and external challenges. As the WSPU's tactics became more radical, divisions within the ranks emerged. How did Emmeline navigate these tumultuous waters, and what were the personal costs of her unwavering commitment to the cause? The next chapter of Emmeline Pankhurst's life reveals the depth of her sacrifice and the complexity of her legacy. Emmeline Pankhurst's journey was marred by significant challenges and sacrifices that tested her resolve and commitment to the women's suffrage movement. Her path was one of confrontation and rebellion against entrenched societal norms, a decision that came with a heavy price, both personally and professionally. Legally, Emmeline and her fellow suffragettes faced constant opposition. Their militant tactics led to frequent arrests, trials and imprisonment. The British legal system, designed by men for men, became an arena of struggle. Emmeline, undeterred by the prospect of jail, used her incarcerations as platforms to further the cause, enduring hunger strikes and the brutality of force feeding. These experiences took a toll on her health, but strengthened her image as a martyr for women's rights, galvanizing public and international support. Socially, the backlash was immense. The suffragettes were often vilified by the press and public, labelled as unhinged or unladylike. The movement strained personal relationships with members, including Emmeline, who faced being ostracised from friends and family. The public nature of her role placed immense pressure on her personal life, particularly as a mother. The sacrifices she made, including periods of separation from her children, highlighted the profound personal costs of her activism. Only some were harmonious inside the movement. The WSPU's increase in militancy led to internal divisions and defections. Some members, including Emmeline's daughter Sylvia, disagreed with her tactics, favouring political lobbying over direct action. These family and ideological rifts pained Emmeline, but did not deter her. The goal of women's suffrage remained paramount above all else. Yet, the outbreak of World War I posed an unexpected and monumental challenge to Emmeline and the suffragette movement. Faced with a global crisis, she made a controversial decision to halt the suffrage campaign and support the war effort, which split the WSPU and puzzled many of her staunchest allies. This pivot reflected Emmeline's complex character, a woman who could suspend her life's work for what she perceived as the greater good of her country. So how did this shift affect the suffrage movement, and what new strategies did Emmeline adopt during these war years? The next phase of her life demonstrates her adaptability and the evolving nature of her activism, revealing a leader who could fight against the establishment and work within it when necessary. As the world plunged into a chaos of World War I, Emmeline Pankhurst faced a critical crossroads. The enthusiasm of the suffrage movement collided with a global crisis, compelling Emmeline to reassess her priorities. In a surprising pivot, she declared that the Women's Social and Political Union's militant activities would cease. The suffragettes would support the British government and its war effort. This decision marked a significant shift, revealing Emmeline's pragmatic approach to activism and a deep-seated patriotism. Emmeline's transformation during the war years was profound. She channeled the same energy and organisational skills that had propelled the suffrage movement into supporting the war effort. She encouraged women to take on roles left vacant by men who had gone to fight, promoting women's employment in factories, farms and offices. It was a strategic move. Emmeline aimed to bolster the case for women's suffrage by demonstrating women's indispensable contribution to the war effort. The war years softened public and political attitudes towards Emmeline and the suffragette cause. The same newspapers that once vilified her now praised her patriotism and leadership. Politicians who had been adversaries started to acknowledge women's crucial role in the war effort, and the tide of public opinion began to turn in favour of women's suffrage. However, this period was not without its challenges for Emmeline. The decision to support the war fractured the WSPU and strained personal relationships further, particularly with her daughter Sylvia, who opposed the war and continued to advocate for social reforms. Despite these tensions, Emmeline remained resolute, believing that the war's end would bring a new social order in which women would finally be recognised as equals. While the war years halted the momentum of the suffrage movement, paradoxically, they brought it closer to its goal. Emmeline's adaptability during this time underscored her leadership's complexity and unwavering commitment to women's rights. The war's end brought new challenges and opportunities for the suffragette leader, setting the stage for the final push towards achieving the vote. So how did the war impact Emmeline Pankhurst and the movement to which she had dedicated her life? The aftermath of the war years would prove to be a crucial turning point, not just for Emmeline, but for the entire suffrage movement. The war's end marked a turning point for Emmeline Pankhurst and the women's suffrage movement. The Representation of the People Act of 1918 was a monumental victory, enfranchising women over 30 who met specific property qualifications. While not universal suffrage, it was a significant step forward, and Emmeline's tireless efforts were integral to this achievement. She witnessed the fruits of her labour, yet she never ceased to advocate for equal voting rights for all women, a goal realised a decade later. Emmeline Pankhurst's legacy extends far beyond the ballots cast by British women. She redefined what was possible for women in political and social arenas, embodying the spirit of resilience and determination. Her methods, marked by controversy and admiration, sparked a global conversation about women's rights and suffrage. Reflecting on her life, Emmeline's journey from a young girl inspired by her parents' activism to a leader of a groundbreaking movement showcases the power of conviction and the impact one individual can have on history. Her story inspires generations, serving as a testament to the enduring struggle for equality and justice. Emmeline Pankhurst's life story, filled with passion, sacrifice and perseverance, leaves us pondering. What lessons can we draw from her unyielding commitment to change, and how can we apply these to today's ongoing struggles for rights and equality?